Hey, Rev, how you doing?
I'm good.
All right, let's get it going. You out alive.
Bring me the newspaper. It's Wednesday, February 12th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time must come and has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country, and good morning to our West Coast listeners, and welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York, and we are live on our local stations and on Sirius XM and live at nationalactionnetwork.net, our live stream. You can watch the show on live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you could watch it on our YouTube channel, NAN, YouTube at NAN. A lot to talk about. Certainly, we are still dealing with the incoming president. And, you know, optics matter. And I was working out this morning, watching the news while I was on the elliptical, and I saw Elon Musk sitting. No, he wasn't sitting, standing in the Oval Office over a resolute desk, the desk of the president, and he was standing there with his son, had his overcoat on, like he was just going through a walk in the park with his son. Now, can you imagine if some black billionaire was standing up like that with his overcoat on and his kid running around over the resolute desk when Barack Obama was president? I mean, these people just outright saying we've taken over, we'll do what we want, how we want, and we ain't even got to dress it up. That's what you're dealing with. And this whole battle with DEI being led by Trump and led by Elon Musk. I spoke last night at Yale University, and it's the Yale Political Union. It was a full house, and the subject was on DEI. And what is amazing to me is you have some conservatives that are against DEI and don't even know what it is. When you ask them to define it, what is it? And they absolutely can't define it. Because diversity is saying that we set goals by what is clear, that we need to make sure that we have racial, gender, sexual orientation, disabled people represented in our workforce and our C-suite contracts, etc. Now, people that don't support DEI are saying that we should not make sure that everybody's represented. So my position, and I told the students this, my position is fine. You don't want diversity in the workforce. You don't want diversity on your board. You don't want diversity with the people that you do contracts with. Then fine. If you don't want diversity, then you should not enjoy diversity among your consumers. You talk about merit. Well, the reason we need diversity programs is because you would not have merit, because you wouldn't let us in to compete and show our merit. Black folks could play baseball before Jackie Robinson. Y'all wouldn't let us fight in the majors. That's why we had the Negro Leagues. Black folks could be president before Barack Obama. You would not vote and sustain that. So it is absolutely, to me, crazy and in many ways ridiculous to, in many ways, tell and try and propagate that you want to have merit when we already had DEI and we already had, once DEI was there, everybody could, in many ways, compete. So we can talk about that. We'll talk about the continued battle around DEI and the continued way of educating our young people toward what it is and what it should be. One of the things that I like to do a lot of the colleges, and not just Yale and Harvard and the big ones, but one of the things that I find interesting is what we tell our young people. And I want today you to help think this through. And that is that what young people, what advice you should give young people. What's the best advice? I want everybody to think about this. What's the best advice that you can give to young people, both in their personal life and what's the best advice they could give on what's going on in society? Right now, many of you that listen to me are parents or grandparents. What is the best advice that you could give to a young person? Somebody listening may need to hear what you got to say. And I think that we really, really, really need to exchange information, exchange ideas. Say, you ought to tell young people this, you ought to tell young people that. So, all right, we're looking at the fact that in the news that we need to talk about today is, of course, the DEI fight. We also looking at Donald Trump continues to try to stack his cabinet. Tulsi Gabbard is now over intelligence when she has serious questions about her. And we are in a new regime. Question is what we gonna do about it. And I want to hear from you all over the country. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And I think that a lot of the problem and a lot of the concerns that we have, a lot of it remains because we don't address it and we don't make it an issue. People in these positions of power and in media, they monitor these shows to find out what people are talking about and to find out what is the pulse of the black community. And that's why we've not only expanded from radio to live stream and to YouTube, because we want to say we are not asleep. We are yet awake, and we give you the opportunity to express yourself. And I think that is important. A lot going on the international level. You see that Russia's released 3 more hostages, Americans, and there's talk about trying to solve the Ukraine situation. So let's get ready to line up the calls. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI diversify. It's not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete. That DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI diversify. It's not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete.
Number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, "The two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born." I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And we're talking about the issues of the day. And my question of the day is, what is the most important thing to you that we can tell young people, both about life and about what's going on in the country? And it's interesting to me. When I spoke last night, must have been 300 students there at Yale, packed the Yale hall, and mostly white. And when you find out, and you that on live stream during the commercial, we ran some of the footage from last night. When you find out that a lot of our young people growing up in this country, white and black, are just not informed about what's going on. They're on social media, and they are in many ways being propagated by people that have a certain view or certain opinion, and doesn't really have the real grasp of what's going on. But as I talked to them, I said, well, let me ask you something. You're in Yale, one of the top universities in the world. What is it that you want to be in life? I don't know. What do you feel inclined to? I don't know. And when you start talking to them and asking them questions that matter, they're lost. You're in this fine university. America's best supposed to be Harvard, Yale, I guess Princeton. And you're here to do what? And I think that a lot of us should spend more time making them ask themselves serious questions. And I think that will help them go a long way. So I want you to tell me, what do you think is the most, the things we ought to be talking to young people about? And in personal life, I don't think we spend enough time with our children and grandchildren talking to them about personal life, about dating, about who they should look for, what they should look for in a husband or a wife, about complications in relationships. I'd like some of y'all tell me some of how you had those discussions. We need to really talk about these things. You should not assume people know what you never told them. and that people just born with the same kind of information you were born with, or that you learned in life since you were born. So I'm going to go to the phone. Let me, by way of announcements, remind you to watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. And I get the best and the brightest, the members of Congress, the members of the Senate, governors, as well as cultural trendsetters and people in the movement. I don't waste my time on the air with foolishness. So you won't waste your time watching Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 on MSNBC, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. Then you in the New York area, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. Meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally every Saturday. I'm there this Saturday. We had a great rally last Saturday in Harlem, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem. And you that are not in New York area can watch it live on Impact Television. And then the National Action Network Convention. It starts April 2nd through the 5th this year in New York at the Sheraton Times Square. Workshops on everything from our economic issues, business empowerment, DEI, Black academia, HBCUs. Got some of the presidents coming, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson coming, Ben Crump coming with social justice panels, some of the victims, where we are, what we need to be doing in these cases, our leading political figures. You need to be here. It's free. There's no registration fee. All you got to do is be here. It is the 2nd through the 5th, but sign up now. And say, Reverend, I can't be there all 4 days. I can be there 2 days. I can be there 1 day. Sign up now. It is also where we're going to unveil the Democrat agenda that we are challenging him on, and the boycott. Our 90-day commission is going to make their report and say we have found that this is the company or these two companies we ought to be going after. And when we leave, we will leave with an assignment of turning around the fortunes of some company that turned around our fortunes. So make sure you are doing that in terms of being at the convention. All right, let's get ready to take some calls. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Let's start with Tim in Wilson, North Carolina. Tim?
Refresh, Rev, refresh.
That's what I have on my call screen.
Okay, I think we got the wrong call screen. Hold on. I think we got the wrong call screen. I got Still Bill, Norm, Woody, Anita, Queen, Marcus, Ronnie, RT.
No. Wait a minute, we're trying to get our call screens right.
I can text them to you if that's okay.
Yeah. All right. Let me start with Still Bill, in Cincinnati, the Buzz. Still Bill, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Happy Black History Month, and good evening to you, Reverend.
Good evening.
That is a very interesting topic that you picked, and I couldn't be more happy to. I'm trying to find the word. Trying to participate in it. Over the years, when I was growing up, I had influences such as a barber, local mailman, local basketball coach, neighbor, anybody that would inspire me to, do what's right. And is the reason why I'm here today. And I give God mostly the credit for bringing these people into my life. I had a basketball coach named Willie C. Jackson. He was very motivating and all that, to where he taught me the fact is that, someone that tries to get you to do something wrong, you stand your ground. He can go back and tell his friends that you're square and all that and everything, but you know what? The value of it all is that you have your freedom. You have your dignity. You have your respect. And most important, you have your love and respect for God. And, it is truly a pleasure to participate. So I'm going to end it. Have a good day, Reverend. Keep up the good work. And say hello to your beautiful daughter, Dominique.
I shall. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Yeah, he's right. You lost your fire and you lost your mind. We got 60 blacks in the Congress. Black mayors all over the country. And you standing around talking about, I don't know why Sharpton talk about boycotting. When we had no people in Congress, when we had no black mayors, we shut down bus companies, we shut down Woolworths, we shut down A&P, because we had dignity, and we had pride, and we had integrity, but you've lost that. Before I got too depressed, I went to the book and I read in Judges 6th chapter. Y'all read it. It's Joshua 6th chapter where an angel came down. There was a man, Joash's son. Joash's son, he had a son called Gideon. And they said that Gideon was under the wine press. During the week, he was hiding from the Midianites. And the angel came. And the angel said, O mighty man of valor, God has use for you. And Gideon looked up. Now, he hiding from the Midianites. And he said, God, if God is on our side, then why does God let us fall? If God is on our side, why did he abuse us? Why he let the Israelites fall to the hand of the enemy? The angel didn't argue with him. The angel said, O mighty man of valor, God has use for you. And finally, Gideon got into this back and forth. Well, y'all know the story. Lay out the fleece, see if there's water on the fleece. Lay out the fleece, see if the ground. After he was convinced, he stood up. My point is that God always calls on people that are questioning whether they're qualified. And I come to tell you today that it's time for you to stop hiding under the bush. Because God is calling you and I right now. Don't tell me how powerful Trump is. Midianites had power over the Israelites. God took a boy from under the wine press and defeated the Midianites. The same God that stood up for Gideon, the same God that liberated the Israelites, the same God is still on the throne. If you stand up, he'll hold you up. He'll make a way out of no way. You're hiding under the wine press, hoping they don't see you. You hiding because you lost your faith. You hiding because you don't think you can do nothing. You lost one election, so you done lost your mind. Oh, Trump's in, what we gonna do now? What we always did. How you lost your nerve now? When if people had not had nerve, you wouldn't be working where you working. How you lost your heart now? When if it hadn't been for people that had a heart, you wouldn't be living where you living. How you backing up now? When if people had backed up, we wouldn't have come this far. Those executives that you looking up to are a result of a movement. They didn't move themselves up. We opened the doors for them. Barack Obama was a result of the voting rights struggle. But you've got, that's why DeSantis and them want to erase black history. They don't want you or their children to know the history. The history is that we came with nothing, stripped of our names, stripped of our families, stripped of any kind of any association with dignity. But yet somehow we took King James's Bible and turned them verses around and said, I don't know who King James was talking about, but I know the God he was referring to. And that God meant that the first would be last, and the last would be first, and the lion and the lamb will lay down together. I know God will make a way somehow. I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI diversify is not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Let me read some of our comments on our live stream. Denise Eugene writes me, we were raised with the integrity and honor in the church. These young people have none. They're ripping off seniors with degrees they were supported to get. They don't know God and they are missing it, but not all, thank God. And she's right, not all. I like that. I think, let's go, let me read what Nesbitt said. Nesbitt says, we tried to tell him about racism. He never wanted to believe us. He grew up mostly in a white community. Him becoming a police officer was a no-no. I also told there about slave catchers. God is the only answer. Now I pray all the time to put a hedge of protection around him and his co-workers. I know my grandson, he makes a great officer,
but it's dangerous. We want to encourage our young people, Angela Bishop says, to respect for one another and respect the elders in the community. That's a few people answering the question of the day on live stream. Let me go to Norm in DeSantisburg, Florida. Norm is on our call line on air. Go ahead, Norm.
Yeah, how you doing, Robert? You know, the thing that I find most irritating, I just wanted to talk about amazing double standard. I want you to check this out. We were talking about the condoms in Mozambique, or the condoms that were supposed to go to
You
Gaza.
got to talk in the phone. You coming off muffled.
Okay, hold on a second here. Hold on a second. Can you hear me now?
That's much better.
Okay, Reverend, we want to talk about the misinformation about the Gaza province, the condoms that were supposed to go to Gaza province of Mozambique, which didn't get there. But I want you to look at something in a higher light about the amazing double standard that our government has played, particularly on our black healthcare providers. I want you to go back to the area, to the day 1993, 1990, to the area of Jocelyn Elders, Surgeon General of the United States of America. And this is when the AIDS epidemic came about, and she was let go by the Clinton administration during that time because she advocated that one of the ways that we can treat or inhibit the spread of HIV was by the use of condoms. All right, and they let her go. All right, this is Sister Jocelyn Elders.
Yeah, I remember Jocelyn Elders. Yeah.
And now what happened? And then here, what is our policy now when we look at part of this is USAID, part of this is CDC, part of this is National Institute of Health. That one of the ways that they stop the spread of HIV in other parts of the world is through condoms. Now, we fired this as we criminalized what this sister, this medical doctor, a pediatric surgeon, a pediatric endocrinologist, Arkansas, head of the United States Department Surgeon General, we criminalized her actions then, her foresight then. And now we come back 20 or so years later saying, oh, we forgot about that one. You know, Sister Jocelyn Elders, not only was she right, but she was right on point about what's happening here today.
And thank you for your call. And to prove that is what she recommended then is what we ended up doing now, as you said, in Mozambique and other places. Very, very good. Very good point, Norm. Let me go to Marcus in Baltimore, Maryland, WOLB 1010. Marcus?
Hey, how you doing, Rev Al? It's Mark from Baltimore.
Oh, it's Mark. All right, it's Mark from Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
Good to hear your voice.
How you doing?
I'm good.
It's good to hear you too, man. I seen you when we was in D.C. the 20th. We will not go back. And I met Dominique. I met your daughter. I was over there with my big brother, my adopted big brother, Senator Larry Young.
Right.
And one of my mentors. And, you know, man, you just bring the fire all the time. But, you know, me and my wife have, a blended family of 8 grown children, 8 grandchildren. And we met in recovery. And what I always told my children is, you know, I always told them, I say, you do the best you can. I say, you always, you know, you accept help. If somebody want to help you, you accept help. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I say, you do the best that you can, whatever you're doing. And if it doesn't work out, you didn't fail. I told them that, you know, but what's going on now, Rev, and you know this, we both 70 years old. When we was coming up, I was born in New York. Mother moved down here when I was a baby, back and forth. Went to school down here 6th, 9th, and 10th, rest of the time in New York. our mentor, Frankie Robinson. Reverend Frankie Robinson got me out of jail 3 times as a teenager. Yes, and I'm here 70 now, recovered alcoholic, retired from VA, where I went in and out of treatment off and on for 8 years. I'm out here with We Out Us, part of National Action Network, and have a show every second and fourth Sunday on WOLB that I've been paying for 13 years now, co-host with Larry Young on Mondays at 10 a.m. And what we're dealing with now, Rev, you know Donald Trump is a poor excuse for a man he's not very bright, as his Secretary of State gave him the name Moron 45. I didn't give it to him, Rev. Now he's Moron 47. Am I right, Rex Tillerson?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
He gave him that name, am I right?
You're right.
That's right. So we have to remind him of that every day. We have to remind him that we know that Elon Musk bought the presidency for $300 million. Senator Young said that Time Magazine redeemed themselves because they had him as Man of the Year, but he said they had Elon Musk on there sitting at the president's desk.
Sitting behind the Resolute desk. Yeah, last week cover story.
So that's what we have to do as the Democrats, man. We got to stay on message, Rev, so that we can win the midterms, and not let them be comfortable in what they're doing. And my oldest daughter here in Baltimore, because that's what our children is doing. They not having this stuff. They business owners and stuff. She sent me this, Rev, and it says the movement is about to begin. This was sent to me. Let's all get behind this. Please try to share it with at least 25 people. The 24-hour economic blackout, February 28, 2025, as our first initial act, we turn it off for one day. We show them who really holds the power. Friday, February 28th, from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., what not to do. Do not make any purchases. Do not shop online or in store. No Amazon, no Walmart, no Best Buy, nowhere. Do not spend money on fast food, gas, or major retailers. Do not use credit cards for non-essential spending. What you can do, only buy essentials. And it says, spread the message, talk about it, post about it, document your actions, and why this matters. Corporations and banks only care about their bottom line. If we disrupt the economy for just one day, it sends a powerful message. If they don't listen, they won't. We make the next blackout bigger and longer. This is our first plan of action. Brad, you have a good day, man.
All right. Thank you for your call. And stay in there with Larry Young, the Godfather, no doubt about it. Let me go to Ronnie in Georgia. Ronnie, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good evening, Ralph.
Good evening.
I think that the thing that we need to teach our young people, starting first off, is to love themselves, Ralph. Because we got a lot of young people today that don't even love themselves, and you can tell by the actions that they do. And then we need to teach them to love one another. One of Jesus' greatest commandments was love, right?
Yeah.
And he said, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right.
And
which means you got to love yourself in order to love your neighbor, which is why I love what you started with, teach our young people how to love themselves, because you can't love anybody else properly if you don't love yourself and know your own self-worth properly. That's very important how you phrase that. Go ahead.
Right, and I challenge all these millionaires that are in their own state, black and white, to invest in our education system.
Right.
Because as we see now and going through this administration, it's up to us to take care of ourselves. They're not going to do anything for us. And so, therefore, I challenge these millionaires. You don't have to try to save the world just within your state, black and white millionaires. invest in education, public education, not only athletics, but academic, Rep, and I charge them for that. And then have you heard about Pete Hesse said that they will no longer recruit at these black prestige engineering schools in Baltimore. Have you heard that?
I've heard it. I've not been able to verify it. Have you verified it? It's true?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it is true. And it was one general that spoke out, but he remained anonymous. He said that it is just blatant. A general now, this ain't no, person off the street or, some just random person. It was a general within the ranks of the Army said that it was just plainly, blatantly, straight out racist.
Wow.
And that's what yeah. And that's what he said. He said that they have been doing this for years, and these are some real bright, brilliant black people. And the thing about it is, Ralph, it wasn't only black people, it was some brown people and some white people too. But it was predominantly black folks. That's what they got. I hear the news. Love you, Ralph.
Love you. Thank you for the call. Let's take a break. Be right back. More of you on the phones and more of you on live stream comments. I'm coming to everybody. 1-877-532-5797 or go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net live stream and send me a comment. We'll be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A whole number of black New Yorkers
Breaking
as well.
news.
He is little more
The
than
issues, the stories affecting you. Now here's the news.
Bullhorn in hand at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
That DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI diversify is not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete.
country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on.
It's almost like start of World War III if we're not careful.
Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York.
There's no side that can justify, to me, killing innocent people.
Absolutely nothing. Keeping it real with the world's civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
You live, Rev.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or go on the live stream and send me a message in our messages. You can write me a message. I'm looking at them as we do the show and reading some of them as we can get to the messages. I'm looking at your Yabraj Lacarage. I know I'm saying the name wrong, but they're saying we would support who don't support us. And that I like that message. We definitely need to stop supporting people that don't support us. Let's go to RT in St. Louis, Missouri online. RT, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Oh, yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call, Reverend Sharpton. I was thinking about how Governor DeSantis, how he didn't want Black history to be taught in the schools or put in school books. But I was watching a documentary on Roku TV, and this public school, they had invited a woman who was an Auschwitz concentration camp survivor. They invited her to come to the auditorium of the school. It could have been a Jewish school, but they invited her to come there and speak to the children, the teenagers there, about what it was like living in those concentration camps. So, it's just amazing to see that, and then have somebody like DeSantis say he don't want our history to be taught in schools or in the books. But finally, I'll put it like this, because I know the other callers. I've been thinking for months. Should Black children, should they know about the slave codes and the Jim Crow and the history of this country? Because we've seen it. We've seen pictures of people being lynched, and it hasn't affected how I interact with Caucasian people. I mean, it hasn't affected me at all. But then I thought about I was watching an animal program where animals, they teach their young about what's going on around them. Like it was a deer. She had just had a baby deer, and that baby deer, she knew exactly how to stay hid in the bushes until the lion went away. So animals, they teach their children about what's going on around them and what to avoid and what to have contact with. So I think we should do the same thing.
I thank you for your call. That's the question today. What should we tell our young people? And I love that what you said. We need to teach them what's going on, even when they don't want to hear it. You've been young, I've been young. A lot of things that parents, people in the community wanted to tell us we didn't want to hear. But it was in our head, and later in life when we needed to pull it down, it was planted in us and say, now I know what they were saying, and I'm going to do this, that, or the other. I really
believe that's one of the most important things you can teach young people. Frank says, I'm reading comments on the live stream. Frank says, I believe that the Frank's, was it Colucci, says, I believe the greatest gift is to demonstrate forgiveness. One day it can make an impact. Interesting. I like that. All right, let me go to my friend D in Northwest Atlanta, Georgia. D?
Hi, Reverend Al. You're the host with the most.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Yes, you are. When I was growing up, there was a lot said about the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right.
That's what we were taught, and for a long time, that's what you heard. But now with DEI, I guess MAGA doesn't believe that. They don't believe that everybody should be treated equally. You treat them the way you want to be treated.
Right.
But that's what I learned growing up. I called today to mention inflation. I heard on the news today that inflation is up 3%. And I want to know, where is the outcry?
Right.
Trump supposedly was voted in because of the price of eggs and other items that were going up. Now, the local media doesn't focus on the idiocy of this, so it's up to the Democrats to bring it out and to make sure that the common people, the people who are so busy working, they don't pay attention to politics like a lot of us do. So I'm going to say this again: if there are any Democrats listening, you need to get the messaging out. It's not going to hurt you to put a few dollars in and put an ad out there that asks, "Is this what you voted for?"
Absolutely. I think that'd be a great ad.
That would be a wonderful ad. And if anybody's listening, those folk who send me these messages, emails, and cell phone messages asking for my money, I will contribute to that if you tell me that's what you're going to do. And, Reb, I love you, and I thank you so much, and you are the best. Thank you.
Thank you, as always. Good to hear your voice, D. Let me go to Haki in Baltimore, Maryland, WOLB. Haki.
Yes, good afternoon, Reverend Al. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. Well, I'm beautiful. Well, certainly Baltimore, looking forward to coming to the conference in April. As you know, Baltimore always represents.
Big time. Oh, yeah. Y'all definitely. Y'all turn out big time.
Yes, sir. But one thing, Reverend, now, I just want to, just applaud your work first and foremost. But one thing I would say to young people is to have some level of decorum and appreciation for those who have come before you. I hear you say, Reverend Al, about scenarios where, people say this is not your grandfather's movement, right? Or something to that extent.
Right. This ain't your grandma's movement, yeah.
Right. Well, Reverend Al, and let me just say, I recently, had to, defend you. It was online. I guess it was some people in New York. I guess they refer to themselves as nationalists of sorts, and it's interesting. I mean, because I don't know if I came to the the Saturday Action Rally, and I saw some people. So some people, I don't know if they in there spying on you or what, but but it's interesting. So this is what happened. So somebody would say, and this is what I mean by giving respect and just having a little operational unity here. So someone would say, for instance, in a group, well, I don't support Reverend Al, but I think that this boycott is a good thing. And I say, well, what makes you have to put Reverend Al Sharpton name in it? Or, like, why didn't you just take his name out? Why you have to defame his name in front of people who may not know his work? I mean, I know what you stood for. I told him, you put your life on the line. You get more threats than most of them, and they don't need to be yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a defamation, but it's just like, why would you put that energy out there and then say you support the boycott? Do your own boycott, or just support it. You don't have to say but or and. You don't have to say anything. Just support it. That's it. So.
Yeah, you're right, and I appreciate the spirit of what you're saying, that Aki. And some people and some of the groups just, well, I ain't with these guys. They ain't us. Or some of them is right wingers and want to tell their MAGA friends, I'm not with Sharpton, but I'm with this. And it really doesn't even it says more about them than it does about you or me. But thank you for your call. Looking for you in April. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
Joining James Brown, Muhammad Ali, and myself now from New York City is the Reverend Al Sharpton. Mr. Brown, James, I'd like to ask you about this young man, how you came to meet him, and what the National Youth Movement, which he represents, is all about. Tell me something about
it. It's about teaching young kids the right way to go, and the things to be involved in education. Don't be a dropout, which is one thing I'm very much behind. Unless kids have guidance, they have no place to go. And the idea is to try to mold them. I mean, we think of anything, we think of it as a baby. And what we mold them to be is what it will be later on. He used to stand at my back door, and he believed in what I said, the Don't Be a Dropout program, and the fact of helping kids and giving them the right idol and the right image to go with, cleaning, grooming, and wanting to work, wanting to be something. I started as a kid, a juvenile delinquent, and everything. Had no model. And I was able to be a model for a young man like this. And what he turned out to be, he's a minister, and he preaches the right thing, and I'm for him 1,000%. I'm for everything he's about.
Mr. Sharpton, how national right now is the National Youth Movement? Is it something new? Has it been going on for a while? Do you have a stated number of members? Tell me something about it.
Well, we don't really get into a numbers game, because that's been a trick that has been played for the last 20 years. What we're basically interested in doing is saying to young people of impoverished backgrounds that there are people like a Muhammad Ali and a James Brown that represents hope to us. Because these people, despite all of the social odds, despite the unemployment statistics, despite the lack of education in their day, were able to grow and be something that we can be proud of. A man like me didn't have a father at home, but I had a James Brown to look up to and would want to sing and dance like him, or Muhammad Ali, who I saw stand up and give away millions of dollars of stamps to the government so that I would have a right to come 10 or 20 years later and try to fight for my kids. So what we're saying is there are symbols and images that kids can look up to and not have to throw a brick through a window, but that can work by the sweat of their brow and succeed just like these two gentlemen did.
But considering the numbers of young kids today, and Rev, there are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of kids who really are in hopeless and desperate situations, is it enough to just offer them an example?
You say hopeless, though. Not hopeless.
Well, let's say, to them, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids,
it's never hopeless. There's no such thing as hopeless. It's never hopeless. When I got 8 to 16 years for breaking and entering as a kid, because I was hungry, and here I am today, it's not hopeless. Don't say hopeless. Then we're carving out. I don't believe in hopeless. Don't you think it's hope? If you believe in something, try it. No such hopeless. I don't believe in hopeless. We're not going to go with that. And I think he's not about teaching them how to get out and fight for themselves. That's what it's about. No, it's not hopeless. Everybody has a cause and everything, but everybody want to live. And I think living is what we're about. We're not going to teach dying. Hopeless is dying.
I agree with you 100%, James. But what I'm trying to ask here is simply saying, you too can be a James Brown or a Muhammad Ali. Is that enough to give a kid who's hungry, who doesn't know where his next meal is coming?
I'll say it.
Give him somewhere to go.
I think it's awful weak to tell a kid, you can be a James Brown, one of the greatest entertainers in the world, and me, one of the greatest fighters. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of millions of kids that need a break. You can't have that many great people, but they can get educated. They can go to school. They can learn. I'd like to say one thing. We have crime today. It's a big problem. I think they took a national vote on what the people want the government to spend most of the money on, and crime was over national defense. Worrying about Russia, China, outside enemies, they're worrying about inside crime. We have crime today, all type prostitution, murder, exploitation, degradation, and wars of all kinds. And I'm going to tell you why everything's happening. And I think if you're intelligent, you agree with it. If we were riding an airplane and the two pilots died for some reason, is there anybody in this room that can go in the cockpit, pick up the radio, start working it, bring the plane in, depressurize it as it land, and make it, and late at night on a stormy day? You couldn't do it.
Right.
Well, but if you learn how to fly, or if they show you how to fly it, you can. Since God made the world and God made us, He sent the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, sent Moses, Jesus, Noah, to show us how to run the world. And God left His laws. If we don't follow His laws, then we crash.
Let me say this, though, Mr. Snyder, in response to your question to Mr. Brown, Mr. Ali. Yes, it is enough to begin with showing them an example. Because before you get to education, you need motivation. If you don't have motivation to get out of the bed, you won't make school or the party. And what we try to do by showing a James Brown or Muhammad Ali is not that you can be a great champion maybe like Ali or a great entertainer like James Brown, but if you use the same initiative that they did to make him get up 5 in the morning and run 10 miles and just have a dream and to come back 3 times and accomplish that dream, to have more hits than anybody in the world, even when the music world wouldn't give him credit for it in terms of a James Brown. If you had that initiative to keep working at whatever it is that you're going to do, you can succeed. And what we're saying to them is you may not reach the plateau of public prominence of them, but if you can reach the personal discipline and personal motivation of them, you can reach a plateau in your life. Because it's not about looking for a government handout, it's about looking for a way out, as James Brown said.
All right, and then how receptive are the young people that you tell this to?
Very receptive.
Really?
Very receptive. Very receptive. I think that people have misunderstood that most people of impoverished and depressed areas are not looking for the government to give them something. They just want a chance. I remember when I was a little boy, James Brown used to sing, I don't want nobody to give me nothing, just open the door, I'll get it myself. Well, that's all people want now is a chance. Let me get a piece of the action. Let me get a piece of the pie. Let me stand up on my own.
Right. At one man should have the major corporations, the government, should get behind him and push the programs that he's about.
Except maybe if he does it himself and gets grassroots support, it's better than having the government stick their nose in because they have a way sometimes.
We're not talking about control.
Yeah.
We're not talking about control. We're talking about a way of start. You know, they have to start. If they fund Chrysler and fund all these different other things, they can fund a small man to get started. Then the private sector will join in. But let them help too. It should be.
Last thing. Somewhere along the line here tonight, we used a graphic saying long, hot summer. Are you in any way, I'm certain you're not predicting a long, hot summer. You're not predicting urban strife. You're not predicting disorder, anything like that.
Well, what I'm saying is, you know, at home you have an oven. There are flames on top of the oven, and then there's heat in the oven. We always discuss whether there'll be a flame on the top and don't discuss it. There's already 600 degrees inside. I'm not concerned as much about a long, hot summer because it's been a long, hot winter. Yeah. People are unemployed.
Okay.
People are unemployed. People are getting their homes ripped off. Parents' pocketbooks being snatched. As Ali said, crime is at a highest rate it's ever been. So rather than us running around the streets looking for a brick, we should be looking at the fact the brick is already in most people's houses. How do we get the brick out of the house? How do we cool the long oven out? Let's not wait for the explosion and then just cut the flames off upstairs. Let's put the flame out inside. And the only way to do that is everybody to get up and work by the sweat of their brow in America and try to be productive like these two gentlemen have been in their life against all odds. They came up in a world that was alien to them, and they made it. And we can make it if we have the same initiative they did.
Mr. Sharpton, it's been a pleasure to have you here tonight, and I've enjoyed meeting you very much. Thank you for coming by, and thank you, James Brown, for being with us again. Kent, thank you for being with me.
God
live, Rev.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797. Tony Jones Johnson writes a comment on my live stream page, says, no, the onus is on we the people to ensure that the very rights that our ancestors fought and died for matter in this perilous moment. History is indeed repeating itself. Parents have failed children. I like that, Tony. Let me go back to the phones. Let me go to Frank in Miami, Florida. Frank, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hello?
Hello there.
Yes, hello?
Yes.
Yes, hello?
You're on the air, yes.
Hello?
All right, I don't think he hears me. Let's go. Let me go to Miss Richardson in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Miss Richardson.
Yes, dear. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Awesome. You know, Red, it was a doctor that was on the morning show, Carl Wilson show, and she gave some startling statistics about black women, you know, our sisters. And she was saying, in effect, that they are the highest amongst any other group of women that's getting this ST, you know, this sexually transmitted STD type disease.
Yeah, sexually transmitted disease.
Yeah, Red, did you know it?
Yes, I've read that data. Yes.
Yeah, it's so sad, you know, because see, we put our man so much on Trump. But Red, if you ain't got your health, what do you have? Could you answer that? If you don't have your health, what do you have?
No, I totally agree that if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. But I also say that we need to make government make health remedies and health education available. A lot of people do unhealthy things and don't even realize it.
Right, that's true. Because because you're right. Because Trump is trying to scale it all down, right, Rev?
Oh yeah, he's cutting all the health program. He wants to undo the Affordable Care Act, and but I think the part of what your point is also true. We need to educate our young people on health concerns. You know, I tell a lot of young people that come to hear me speak or that engage with me that I tell you don't be promiscuous sexually, not only because it's, you know, my moral beliefs, but because it is unhealthy. You can get STD. Be real clear about that. And a lot of them, like me, come out of single-parent home. Maybe somebody didn't tell them that. Maybe some man wasn't in the house to tell these guys, you can't do this to women or the women to men. We all got to be parents in the community. That's how I grew up.
That's true, Red. You know, but see, what the weaknesses of men is, you know, and I was a social worker when I was a young girl. I was the youngest social worker in the state of Kentucky, Red.
Wow.
Yeah, I was only 20 or 21, but anyway, Mrs. Richardson was the youngest one in the state of Kentucky as a social worker. And see, I know how men's minds work. They're weak, and they're going to prey on women. They're not going to say they're going to prey. But and I'm not saying that all men are like that. We, you know, at least I would say 55% to 60 probably are good men, right, Rev?
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, I think that might be right.
Yeah, and maybe 40% are weak or 45 or whatever. Maybe it's a balance. I don't know, 50-50. But you have a lot of weak men impregnating these women, and they go on these, I call them clearance house shows, Maury Povich and Slope, this man that comes on, these people that make millions of dollars off of black people, and black people will go to tell their dirty laundry to all of these people. It's sad. The black people should restrain themselves and be strong the way the ancestors did. These people from Tulsa, Oklahoma were conscious of making businesses for themselves. Like, Red, you know, some of our black people that went and made businesses for themselves in Chicago and other places. They were strong. But see, some of our community is weak to the point that they feel that they need so much, in order to live. And that's all in their mind. It's a weakness in their minds that tell them it's temptation. Temptation to do this. Temptation to do that. Everything but the right temptation is to, try to make some life for yourself. Make some business for yourself, folks, and some life for yourself. Get your business going. Go with other blacks to make a business. You don't have to be the self-ownership. Go into a business. My father went in business with other people where he became owner. So you have to do this because blacks rely on individualism. And there's a great guy that came on, Baba Lumumba. I think I still remember his name. Baba Lumumba. He's a guy that comes on frequently on another show. And he always tells us, we got to do these things, that this country, the white man is for individualism. He's for individual wealth like Elon Musk. Black men, see, they're addicted to white. That's another thing. That's the weakness of the black man and the black woman. They both have this weakness, this addiction to white folks. They want to do their hair. They want to make up and look European looking. They want to do all these things. They even want to kill. Rev, I see crime shows where blacks are doing the same darn dumb things as these venomous white folks. Evil things black people are doing now, taking their own mothers and fathers' life for the insurance money. And they're doing this. They're addicted to white, Rev. But anyway, I love you, and I'll call you later this week.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for your call. Rodney Jones, the mayor, writes, youth, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Opportunities are not going to knock on your door. Faith without works. That's the mayor from Queensbridge Houses in New York, Mr. Mayor Rodney Jones. Let me go to my Ace Boone friend. I call Frank my Ace Boone Coon, so she's my activist extraordinaire in Chicago, Sister Pam. Pam, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. I always appreciate your words, and same to you. I love you, respect you, as well as the other civil rights leaders, Reverend Jesse Jackson here with Rainbow Push, and I'm always letting everyone know we not only need to call and support, but we need to increase memberships and donations, because you all, right now, I'm seeing the first line of defense. It should be many more of our elected officials, the first line of defense. However, I know you all operate in different lanes, so I can respect that. But I certainly need to hear more. And Reverend Sharp, I'm just going to ask, have you heard anything from Bill Gates?
No, he's been strangely quiet in all this.
So I would just ask all of those, I'm going to say, because we say this when we talk among ourselves. We talk about the good white people. So this is a time for the good white people to push back on the hate and the racism coming from the other white people. And I think that's important. So initially when I was calling Reverend Sharpton, what is going to be the message coming from the Democratic Party?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Thank you, because consistently I've said 80% plus black men, 90% plus black women, we got it right. We supported Harris, even if there were those who didn't actually agree with her or had some issues with the Democratic Party, came out in majority and supported her. Now, the majority of white men and white women didn't. So that is a split right there within the Democratic Party, because we were clear about the message.
Right.
And those of us who voted for Harris, we knew exactly what this Nazi-loving, Hitler-loving, convicted felon would do. But somehow that still didn't bother the other voters in the Democratic Party. So what is going to be their message? Because if it is about trying to take us to the center, that isn't going to work. And they're making too many excuses, Reverend Sharpton, for what occurred in that election. And I don't want them to think, and you can comment on this, I don't want them to think that they're going to use Harris and the resources that she garnered to run for this election to apply to some mediocre message that won't offend white people.
I love it. Always on target, Pam. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797, or go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Watch the live stream and send a message, and I'll read it on the air. Let's take a break. Be right back.
Who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me, and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI, diversify, is not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were the pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Twitter.com, The Rev Al, or go to nationalactionnetwork.net. And on the live stream, you can send me a message. Michael Jones says, a tough lesson in life that one has to learn is not everyone wished you well. That's a good lesson to teach young people, Michael. Absolutely right. Let me remind you, every Saturday and Sunday, and I know it's Wednesday, I'm working on guests already. I want people right in the thick of where this government fight is in terms of Elon Musk, in terms of layoffs, in terms of closing federal agencies. So I'm getting some of the top of the Senate and the Congress, some of the governors that'll be on this weekend. I want to also bring in another panel, deal with Black History Month. Make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC every Saturday and Sunday, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time.
MSNBC. You that are in New York area visiting or live in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, meet me in Harlem for the Saturday Action Rally, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem. You know, one lady and her husband came, I believe it was Saturday before last, from North Carolina. She said, you know, I kept hearing you say on the air about Saturday Rally. I just wanted to come see New York and experience the Saturday Rally, and I never thought I'd be so touched, inspired, and challenged. I said, that's why we do it every week. And I want you to keep coming and stay with us. You that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television. And get ready for the National Action Network Convention. You heard a brother out of Baltimore talking about they ready. I mean, there's no convention like it. It's free. We get the biggest names in the areas they're big for. I don't believe in just having celebrities to have celebrities. I have them. If you're a businessman, you are going to do the business panel. If you're an academician, that we going to cross the board. But we never fail to see you to have you blacks at their best and whites that will address our issues and Latinos. It's free. And this year is April 2nd through the 5th at the Sheraton Times Square. Sign up now. Be on the list now. So as we break down the participants, you are guaranteed a seat in the room. Before we have to, last year before last, we had to shut some workshops' doors, say, nope, too late. Go see something else. So sign yourself in now since it's free. You have no excuse. All you have to do is go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or call the toll-free number. You can sign up over the phone at 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. All right, let's go to Queen in Cincinnati, Ohio, the Buzz. Queen?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, and it's wonderful to talk to you. I'm telling you, every time you play you and James Brown, this Queen of Egypt almost fall out in the Holy Ghost. I said, wait a minute. You can be the Queen of Egypt and the Holy Ghost.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, sir. But my thing today on what to teach the children, I think I listened and watched James Brown movie, and he asked, did you do right by you? And that means a lot because, you know, we are taught taste not, touch not. We taught religion and tradition. We taught our African heritage and then our American inheritance. We have power to kill, steal, and destroy, but we have the power to love, encourage, and give hope. We the resurrection and we the revolution. We can make people love us like we can make people hate us. But at the end of it all, if you have not done right by you, you missed the mark.
That's right.
You missed the whole self-adventure. You miss everything because I've studied black history and studied white history, and I saw a lot of people do the will of God and do the work of God, but God also wants you to do right by you. The whole idea is for you to also have a life and that much more abundantly. So, you know, teach your children that we done been here before, we've done this before. Before you leave this earth, try to do something that to leave a mark, to make a change and to make a difference. But if you don't do nothing else, do right by you, and that's what keeping it real is.
I love
and
it.
I got one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
Don't marry no man or get with no man that tell you you don't deserve a box of chocolates or some candy or some flowers sometimes.
I have two daughters, and believe me, I tell them the same thing. You know, if you got some feeling for me, love for me, or like for me, show me some sign. Any man that want to show you no sign, go on to the next thing. Thank you for your call. Let me go. Thank you, Queen. Always good to hear your voice. Let me go to Tommy in Chicago. Tommy, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
It is always an extreme pleasure to speak to Reverend Al Sharpton. I had the absolute ignorance to want to call this man on his show and began to spew my complete misunderstanding. This man would then challenge me to get involved and then call him back. Didn't cut me off, didn't cuss me out. The next time I would call this person on the phone, I would ask for his extreme. Will he forgive me? Because, see, first of all, if you don't know your history, if you don't understand that a black person in America, I don't care what generation you've lived in, have never had humanistic rights. If you don't understand truly who Hitler is, why you keep talking about Hitler? Because when the jig was up, when it was going to be absolutely clear that the people had been led astray, well, do you think it'd be interesting for these uninformed and ignorant people to understand and know the first people who killed not only himself but his entire family was Joseph Goebbels, the minister of propaganda? And then, Rev, let's just be crystal clear about something else. Too many other ethnics died. Too many other countries understood that America was the last thing standing. During that time in our history, America produced 62% of everything made in the world. This is the greatest country on the face of the earth. I don't care who you are, what you are. And I believed a cartoon character that said, if you wish upon a star, doesn't matter who you are. If you believe dreams come true, they will for you. That was Jiminy Cricket. And it was from another individual whose name was Walt Disney, an immigrant. And because of the white woman that he married who loved him, he loved her, she told him, baby, be quiet. I'll handle this, because of her position and her status. Why does everybody want to be the man? Why does no one want to follow? Why is the first thing our children do is go and ride or go and hide somewhere and have sex? Who will these people listen to? 3 people alive today. They won't listen to them. Watch this. Start with Todd Stroger, an elected official in the city of Chicago, the only politician who had a balanced book in a time when people were being laid off. Then come with Tim Duncan. No, LaShawn Ford. I'm sorry. I may have said his name. I hope they forgive me, but they know I love him. And then the best one of all, Rev, Senator Roland Burrs. And let me not forget the trump card. In case them 3 ain't enough for you, include yourself. All alive. All telling for decades. All of it was there. You're talking about the spook who sat by the door. There is no more patience for these individuals. So let's just do it what you would do, Rev. So if you didn't know, now you know. Because watch this. Evil gives no quarter. Evil don't care what you understand. Evil only knows one thing: kill, steal, and destroy. And it comes in all shapes, all sizes, and most importantly, uninformed people, all colors. Who will you listen to? Goodbye.
All right. Thank you for your call. Wow. That was a lot to really hear and digest. Love it, though. Love it, though. Let me go to Gary in Philadelphia. Gary.
Good day, Reverend Al. Good day, Word Family, and good day, young people that are listening, because you have to have them to listen to hear what we're trying to give them.
Right.
So one thing that I wanted to say is the rent that you pay on earth is service to others. The rent you pay on earth is service to others, to the young people. Sit and visit with an elder in the family or a neighbor that can give you some wisdom from their experience. It doesn't matter what age they might be, but as long as they're an elder, which they're older than you, and then you would learn, like I learned from my grandmother who lived to be 101 years old, who's now my ancestor, and she told me, fools travel roads most traveled by. Wise men travel roads less traveled by. Fools travel roads most traveled by. Wise men travel roads less traveled by. Create your own path. Do not follow the. She was telling me about a young kid on the street that was doing everything under the sun. And if I wanted to follow him, then I would end up like him. So we have to learn how to create our own paths in life and make sure that we stay in the path and make sure we sit with an elder and also visit an elder and help them.
Love it.
So that's the thing that I really want to say.
Love it. I love it. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say, you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old. Went to jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is
historically black colleges and universities to the tune of about $13 billion, and Tennessee State was the one they shorted the most.
Absolutely. Well, let me know. I'm on the next plane as soon as you holler. You know, when Ben Crump called, I don't even question it. I just head to the airport and get the details on the way.
Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. Keeping it real. And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And, of course, you that are on live stream with me at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. You can post a message. I'll read them on the air. Or you can call in and I'll let you express yourself at 1-877-532-5797. You know, I see Brian Williams listened during the break on live stream. We play this, I call it a rap gospel, where I preach and James Brown sings and I preach and he sings. It was his idea. We did it in 1979. I was 26 years old, and he wanted me to come to Augusta, Georgia. And we drove all the way to Greenville, South Carolina, to a studio, and he cut that record. And he had his band, the JBs, play in the studio. And as I was talking today, having some of you call and say, what should we be telling young people? I find myself many times just in when I'm by myself early in the morning in meditation, working out in the gym, or when I'm flying to some city, thinking of some of the things James Brown would tell me that sound a little out there then. And I've lived to see that he was a wise man. Told me things that maybe he knew I would need to know later, and understood that maybe right then it wouldn't make sense. But for whatever reason, he invested a lot of time and a lot of energy in me from when I was 16, 17 years old till he died. And I never knew why, but he did. And I say that to say you never know why God put certain people in your life. Now, I grew up boy preacher, Pentecostal church. Why would I end up being like a son to the biggest soul singer in the world? Only, in my opinion, only God could have done that. And so I really think a lot of the things he taught me and told me that I live to say, sometimes, thank you, Mr. Brown, like he's still right here in the flesh. Let's go to the phone. Let me go to Emily in San Diego. Emily, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hi, Al. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. What is our small part in helping get rid of the Electoral College vote and to help get rump roast out?
Well, I think that, one, we have to vote in a Senate and a Congress that will outlaw the Electoral College. I think that the Electoral College is interesting you brought that up, Emily. Thank you for your call. The Electoral College was started so it gives some empowerment to southern states after the Civil War, so they would feel that they had as much stake as the northern states did in voting for president. I think that has been outdated, and should be gotten rid of. And I think that should be one of the things we campaign on next year and the presidential year. I think you're absolutely right, because it empowers what they call swing states because they have certain electoral college states. If it went by just popular votes, it would be different. And very good point. Let's go to Elizabeth in Michigan. Elizabeth, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. It's nice to talk to you. And I got a message about a boycott for the 28th of February. It's what I'm calling about.
Okay, I'm not up to par.
Oh, well, it said from Reverend Sharpton and to follow your leadership is regarding the DEI boycott plan.
Yeah, that we said 90 days. We're gonna let that out April at our national convention. February 28th is not 90 days from when we started. We are still researching with companies that we are going to boycott. Now, there's some people that are already calling boycotts, and that's fine. But the one I want to call is not going to be one just limited. I want it where it will be until we bring them all the way down, and we're going to announce that at the convention.
Okay, but is this going to be like on the media where you can?
Oh yeah,
see it on
it'll be on the media.
Okay.
It'll be on radio, television, everywhere. Oh yeah, we're gonna make it big.
Okay, because this is way overdue. I listen to your show, and I thank God for you, and just keep up the good work.
All right, thank you for your call.
Yeah, have a blessed day.
Have a blessed day yourself. Now, Rich Chris is right in saying, what I don't understand is when the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the executive offices, why didn't they create laws to prevent private contracting in the voting process? And I think that is a good question. I think that when they control the House and the Congress, when they control the House and the Senate and the White House, they couldn't get the voting rights bill, John Lewis, John Lewis Voting Rights Act through because two of the Democrats went against them. If you remember, a senator from West Virginia, Manchin, and the senator from Arizona, I can't think of her name, they would not vote with the Democrats. So they did not have the majority of the Senate. They would have carried that bill if they just had those two, because they had enough in the House passed it. The White House, Biden was with it. That's why we've got to really bear down on this voting problem. You asked an excellent question. And we have a chance to turn it around next year. And if we turn it around in next year's vote and make it a real victory, putting the Democrats back in the majority in the House, which would then make Hakeem Jeffries the Speaker. The power of the Speaker is enormous. They decide what hearings happen. They decide who chairs subcommittees. They decide a lot of things that needs to be in our grasp. So you asked a very important question. Let's go back to the phone. Let me go to Anita in Chapel Hill. Anita?
Hi, Reverend Al. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay, I was inside of Walmart. I'm sorry. I always try to make sure I get the best deals in those stores anyway, with DI or without it. But that's what I want to say. I would tell children to play that song, I Won't Complain. And it's another one that is not as bad as it seems. Because, Christ is there. A Christian minister taught me that. He was American Indian and French and black and some other stuff he said. And the other guy was American Indian that said they played it in his funeral, I Won't Complain.
They played at his funeral. That's a great song. I've had some good days. I've had some hills to climb. Had some lonely days and lonely nights. Think about it. Look things over. I won't complain. I love that song.
Reverend Al, he was a complete grouch. Both of them, they were men who had raised families, and they had worked at Ford and all kind of stuff in the steel mills. They were complete grouches, but they had those good songs at their funeral. And then I want to say one more thing. I'm so glad about Mayor Adams. I hope everything works out for him. And Imam Wasim Muhammad. It couldn't have been 2 weeks before he passed. I saw him at work, and he told me that he didn't. I said, Imam Muhammad, you look like you don't feel well. He said, yes, it's my diabetes, and he was gone in 2 weeks. And I said, well, what do you? Before I got to that, I asked him. I said, well, what do you want? You gonna say anything about the Middle East? And he said, no, you say it. And I looked at him, and he told me that Turkey wants to have something to do with the peace process in the Middle East. So I just want to let you know that what's happening with Mayor Adams may be a little bit bigger than what it looks like on the surface. It's got a lot of global and religious politics in it, and he is not at fault. I'm sure he's not. And people going to have to learn how to get along globally. And for the children, just have high hopes, like Tommy said, Jimmy the Cricket song or whatever. I can't say I'm in my car because I ran in Walmart looking for Baby Alive accessories.
No, well, let me say this. I think that my position on Mayor Adams, who I know well, he was there 34 years ago when I started National Action Network. He was a cop in Brooklyn. And I think that the way they've handled it is put him and the city in a bad light. I think that for them to say that they want to stop the charges and don't have a trial because he was indicted 99 months before the primary. Everybody runs before primaries. Congress people have to run every 2 years. And then to say, though, that he should be able to then work with the President Trump on the immigration and crime, it's like they're saying, we're not going to let him go for legal reasons. We're going to let him go to work the policies we want, which is not fair to him or the city. And then they say we wanted to remove the charges without prejudice, which means they can come back anytime they want. And it's like holding him hostage. Because if he does something they disagree with or stands up against their policies, they're leaving the door open that we can come back and charge you again. I just don't like how it's done. I've always been a friend of Eric Adams, but I wouldn't wish that kind of situation on anybody. James Thomas says that the name I was looking for is Christian Cinema of Arizona. Joe Manchin and Christian Cinema, he says, were the traitors that sabotaged the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. James Thomas, I got you. You are absolutely right. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keep it real. Sharpton. Right after this. I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI diversify. It's not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely accomplished conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit
between white males. That was what they meant, not marriage. Let's have real marriage, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete. Yeah, he's right. You lost your fire and you lost your mind. We got 60 blacks in the Congress. Black mayors all over the country. And you standing around talking about, I don't know why Sharpton talk about boycotting. When we had no people in Congress, when we had no black mayors, we shut down bus companies. We shut down Woolworths. We shut down A&P because we had dignity and we had pride and we had integrity. But you've lost that. Before I got too depressed, I went to the book and I read in Judges 6th chapter. Y'all read it. Joshua 6th chapter, where an angel came down. There was a man, Joash's son. Joash's son, he had a son called Gideon. And they said that Gideon was under the wine press. During the week, he was hiding from the Midianites. And the angel came. And the angel said, "O mighty man of valor, God has use for you." And Gideon looked up. Now he hiding from the Midianites. And he said, "Me, God, if God is on our side, then why does God let us fall? If God is on our side, why did he abuse us? Why he let the Israelites fall to the hand of the enemy?" The angel didn't argue with him. The angel said, "O mighty man of valor, God has use for you." And finally, Gideon got into this back and forth. Well, y'all know the story. Lay out the fleece, see if there's water on the fleece. Lay out the fleece, see if the ground. After he was convinced, he stood up. My point is that God always calls on people that are questioning whether they're qualified. And I come to tell you today that it's time for you to stop hiding under the bush, because God is calling you and I right now. Don't tell me how powerful Trump is. Midianites had power over the Israelites. God took a boy from under the wine press and defeated the Midianites. The same God that stood up for Gideon, the same God that liberated the Israelites, the same God is still on the throne. If you stand up, he'll hold you up. He'll make a way out of no way. You're hiding under the wine press, hoping they don't see you. You hiding because you lost your faith. You hiding because you don't think you can do nothing. You lost one election, so you done lost your mind. Oh, Trump's in. What we gonna do now? What we always did. How you lost your nerve now? When if people had not had nerve, you wouldn't be working where you working. How you lost your heart now? When if it hadn't been for people that had a heart, you wouldn't be living where you living. How you backing up now? When if people had backed up, we wouldn't have come this far. Those executives that you looking up to are a result of a movement. They didn't move themselves up. We opened the doors for them. Barack Obama was a result of the voting rights struggle. But that's why DeSantis and them want to erase black history. They don't want you or their children to know the history. The history is that we came with nothing, stripped of our names, stripped of our families, stripped of any association with dignity. But yet somehow we took King James's Bible and turned them verses around and said, I don't know who King James was talking about, but I know the God he was referring to. And that God meant that the first would be last, and the last would be first, and the lion and the lamb will lay down together. I know God will make a way somehow.
The families, we have 3 families represented here. Where we have Eric Nicholson, who your NAB member, Rodney Nicholson is his father. We have both Lisa and Trevor, who lost their mother, and then we have Evelyn and her children and family. You was out here on the news that Evelyn McClendon was home. And so we're one.
Let's pray. Dear God, we come brokenhearted, but still with firm belief that there is meaning to everything that you allow. Give us the strength to stand even amidst this debris and to rebuild and to stand up to the challenge. And that we come to help these families as we have been anointed by you to be helpful. Stand with the clergy and others in this community.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And I've asked today, and I've gotten some pretty good answers, both from people posting messages on my live stream page at www.National Action Network, and people that have called in on what is the best advice you would give young people. I spoke last night at Yale University. It made me think a lot about how we assume a lot of young people know what we've never told them, and that they have lessons that they were never taught. Now, I'm not saying all of them are open to it, but some of them are. And what should we tell them? And very interesting. 1-877-532-5797. I wonder what lessons or what things you were told when you were young that stuck with you, that made you remember even now that you're older. Very, very interesting. Let's go to Alex in Atlanta, Georgia, WAOK. Alex?
Hey, yes, sir, Rev. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Hey, regarding that message, I was brought up, raised by some FOI members.
Okay.
So I was always raised to be mindful, be careful, and keep your head on a swivel, and don't take anything certain people do for granted. I lost close to $2.5 million in the athletic process after I learned what that was all about. I mean, I gained a lot of money back because I was a pretty decent athlete, but at the same time, I was made aware of these things could happen because they free your intelligence, they free your athleticism, and things of that nature. So being raised that way, I was always mindful, especially after I saw Roots back in the day. I was always mindful of what was possibly to come. I was always told that this time was going to come. So sort of not prepared, but prepared and understand what's going on. As I tell my 3 children, two grown daughters and a grown son, throughout life, to prepare for these type of moments. They didn't really want to believe me because they didn't have to go through what we went through.
Right.
And now they see and they understand what's ahead. And I tell them, jump on an organization like NAN, a black gun organization, just for protection and practicing and training. Always be involved and stay prepared for the worst. I said, believing in God is good, believing in Allah is good. But I always told them, if you look at what happened to the enslaved, if you look at what happened to the discrimination and racism through the years, those things work for those people because I don't think we really listen to who our God actually is within ourselves. I always say in the image and the likeness. Always in the image and the likeness. Do what you need to do to protect yourself, protect your family and friends. And
now, how do young people respond when you tell them that? What is the reaction you get? Do you get argument? Do you get doubt? Do you get cynicism? Or do they really seem interested in listening?
In some cases, because I coach, train, and I help develop kids grade school too. In some instances, their parents and themselves, they're not really paying attention because I guess today's society or the last generation society is more into quick fixes, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the complexities of really learning, really reading, and understanding between the difference of friend and a foe, whether they're black, white, green, or yellow. So I get a lot of pushback
right
now because like I'm in those areas where I coach, train, and develop. They're starting to come around and say, wow, they call me G. Oh, wow, G, I really understand. I really get what you were trying to say. And they ask me, well, how do we prepare? And I tell them the same thing that I told my kids. Stay with your head on the swivel. Stay learn. Make sure you read. Make sure you listen to the older generation like yourself. Because I tell they say, well, Reverend Al Sharpton, a lot of people have you with a bad name and don't understand your process, the civil rights movement. I said, but what have you done? Now, I'm talking to grown folks. What have you done?
Right.
As opposed to waiting for the government, waiting for the Democratic Party. So what have you done to assist that movement to now? Because a lot of people say the Democratic Party, what have they done for us? It's not about, and I tell them it's not about what they've done for us. And for a grown man and a grown woman to ask what somebody's going to do for them, we was raised to think that that's a weak person because you do what you can first. Now, we pay taxes, we do all that, we deserve respect.
Right.
That don't mean it's going to happen.
Right.
So I'm looking at some guys that's looking to build shopping centers, things of that nature to take the place of this crazy DEI nonsense. So, and what I was asking one of your members that I know real well from New York, from Harlem, I said, when you guys went and marched, you went down to Costco. I said, that was a great thing. We saw that. I said, if we can get that to happen, we get 100, 200, 300 people to march and go to black-owned stores on a regular basis, quarterly, whatever the case is, and have that money turned within our community. I said that would, because a lot of people.
That's what we have to do. Absolutely.
They'll change their mind about you. If they see that, they will actually change their mind. Because we are seeing people. We got to see it to believe it. So,
Yeah, well, I'm not interested in worry about changing their mind about me. I want them to change their minds about themselves. But I appreciate the thought and what you're saying, and that is something we need to do. Thank you, Alex. Let's take a break. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI, diversify, is not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, both Saturday and Sunday. We're going to have some good stuff for you this weekend. Make sure you tune in 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday and Sunday. You in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me at the House of Justice in Harlem, at the House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. this Saturday. I'll be there looking for you. And sign up for the National Action Network Convention. We're going to have workshops, as we do every year, planning. We're going to assess what we've done the last year and then set the goal going forward. And we're going to announce the company we're going after. Our 90 days will be up. There's some people out on the internet saying I'm calling a boycott. Now, I'm not calling a boycott until we have finished the commission's report. You know, someone do one day, someone do more, and all that's fine. Don't say I'm calling that. What we're going to call for is that we're going to boycott Company A for these reasons until they capitulate on DEI. So let's be real clear on that. All right, let's go back to the phone. Let me go to the sage of the South. I see him on the board, Brother Jaheed. Jaheed, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, Reverend Al, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. Two things, if I could, and I listened to the future Prime Minister, possibly of Canada, last night on how they would respond to the tariffs. And she said, and I thought of you when she said it, she said that they're going to study strategically what to put tariffs on and what not to put tariffs on, what will get the best effect.
Right.
And it's exactly what you're saying. So let's just say to the people, the idea that you all are taking 2 months or 3 months to strategically figure out what's the best avenue as opposed to just calling something in 30 days or 15 days and et cetera and et cetera. So I wanted to, add that to your support of your strategy to really think it out, put it together, implement it, and let's get the best effect from it.
Right.
And I think that's great. And as far as what I would tell young people, there's a couple of things. Well, the first thing I would tell them is that one day they'll get old.
I like that.
Yeah. That one day their perspectives on life would change because of their age and because of the responsibility that they take on. Because the idea that they don't, I hear a lot of old people come and my kids come back and other people come and they say, I wish I had listened. If only I had listened.
Yep.
Now I see what you were trying to tell me. You know what I mean? But there are some young people that see that ahead of time. They don't have to go through the abuse or they don't have to go through the mistakes in life because they value the ancestors and the knowledge and the information and the guidance the ancestors was trying to give them. They have to realize that we live in a culture that needs them to react impulsively, that needs them to be undisciplined, that needs them to just act on appetites. That's the advertisement industry that makes you make decisions just based on want and not studying and analyzing something before you make a decision, because this country needs impulse buyers to keep the economy and the system working. So I would say to them that don't allow them to separate you from your elders and the wisdom that the elders were trying to teach you, because the elder, you know how they tell us, man, that's old school.
Right.
But they didn't understand what the elders was trying to tell them was principles of life. It had nothing to do with old or new. The earth been here for a long time.
Right.
And people have been living on the earth for a long time. And we haven't had the situation, the condition we have in the society today, because for the most part, up until 50, 75, 80 years ago, our youth used to respond to our elders, the wisdom of our elders. So that's the two things that I would tell them. You're going to get old one day, and that you should not allow them to separate you from the wisdom of your ancestors with this concept of old school, new school. Because once we analyze new school and see the consequences of new school over the past 30 to 40 years, it's devastating to our community.
It has definitely been that. Thank you for that.
So that's what I would say. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that. It reminded me, I was saying earlier, James Brown gave me a lot of advice, a lot of wisdom. And one of the things he used to tell me is, Reverend, when you're 30, think about where you want to be when you're 50, and then go backwards and act like that so you're there at 50. And then when you get 50, think about where you want to be at 70 and go back and live like this is where I got to be at 70. Keep your goals ahead of you and work toward the goals ahead of you, rather than be 50 and say, I wish I'd done this at 30, or be 70 and say, I wish I'd done this at 50, because you did that by flipping the clock and saying, wait a minute, I'd like to hang out with you, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, but I got to get this done by the time I'm a certain age. And I never forgot that advice, and I thank God for placing him in my life. Let me go Let me read some messages here. I think James Thomas said, Lord, know that we might be going through some things right now, but in the words of the gospel great Reverend James Cleveland, I don't feel no ways tired. And I remember James Cleveland, I was a little boy, he used to come through my church, Washington Temple, Church of God in Christ. He'd sing that song, I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. James Cleveland sang that like nobody else. Forrest from Florida. Forrest, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, I got a question. Then I also have something to say about the kids. All right. The question is, can Elon Musk do any damage to our Social Security? Can he stop it?
Well, not as long as the Congress blocks him. He's trying certain ways, but the Congress is in charge of the purse, and that's why we've been all over them. And so far, they've prevented it. But we need to. I will never say never, because I would have never thought Trump would have been back. But we need to keep our self vigilant on that. It's a very good question and a very deep concern.
And can he does any kind of damage to your shows? I mean, because
he's going to try. They're saying they're going to investigate Comcast, which owns MSNBC. They're going to investigate CNN. They're going to try, and we just going to have to fight back.
What can we do to stop that?
Well, let's first see which way they come.
Okay, and then for the kids, I always did tell my kids, and I say to the other kids, and I believe it's in the Bible, old man, I call you because you know the way.
Right.
And young, I call you because of what?
You're strong.
You're strong. So what me and my wife have been doing before all this stuff came down, we have been doing our garden. So I advise everybody to try to do a little garden here and there. And also go buy a piece of property. Just even if it's 1 acre or something, go buy it now before the clown that's in the White House right now get really crazy. Go get that one piece of property so that you can, if you have to go back to farm and go farm on it, get some chickens. You know what I mean? Because prices are sky high, and just like what you not too long ago said, things might get worse before it get better. But if you can go get that one piece of property, just that small piece of property, 1 acre or something. And if you can start it, then you can leave it for the kids, and they'll have something to fall back on, too. So that's my thing for the young people, to also watch a lot of news and also listen to our leaders. That's important for everything.
I appreciate you. Thank you for your call. Let me try to get Tony in here from Jersey. Tony?
Well, hello, Reverend.
Hi.
How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well.
Yes.
How are you?
I am wonderful. Just speaking about, legacy. So I was raised in a two-parent household. My father was very diligent in making sure that the family had everything that it needed. He was from Georgia, Cairo, Georgia, as a matter of fact. And the one thing that he did was he provided and protected us, my mother, my siblings, and I never wanted for anything. So I don't know poverty. But this man worked himself through SEPTA, which was in Pennsylvania, because I'm originally from Philadelphia. And his thing was for us to never know hunger, because he knew hunger. His advice to us was from a fiscal context. It was having a relationship with a bank. It was saving money. It was respecting the right to vote, the right to be. And he was very diligent in making sure that we understood that. So as adults, I am now 66 years of age, and I carry that. I carry that, and I have inferred and kind of inferred that to my children. He also taught me as a young woman, when I was a teenager, when I was 13, that I was to never love anyone more than they loved me.
Yeah.
And he stated that would keep me from getting hurt. And he was so right. And he also said to me something that, was our comedian. Steve Harvey, when he stated that, we should always act like ladies, but carry ourselves as ladies, but think like a man.
Yeah.
He taught me that when I was 13 years of age. So my father was my first boyfriend. I loved him dearly, and he made me the powerful woman that I am today. And I stand with you in doing what we have to do to take our country back.
Love it. I appreciate your call. Great last call for the day. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that put up messages on board and live stream. I appreciate all of it. And we will be back tomorrow. I'm in tomorrow. So remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.